The first winter storm, really major winter storm of this year, 2026. But for of this winter, really, is I saw something earlier about it. I might include it in this video because it's supposed to be a major event, and a major event for the United States. Like half of the United States, or more than half of our country, are going to be affected by this storm. And it's coming up from the southwest all the way down in Texas and going to work its way through all the way up to like Maine. That's a trajectory over the next 4 days. And they're supposed to be in areas they're forecasting an inch of ice. An inch of ice on power lines. They said it could take out power grids, take them out for not days but weeks. We're talking about a major storm. Snow fall and over 2 feet of snow. But that's what's forecast. Interesting, huh? So it's over the next really 4 days, but then it's prolonged even 4 or 5 days. It's just really amazing. Absolutely amazing. I don't know. No, I had a dream earlier this morning, and the dream was that I was out in this area. Look at that time. 11:53, 153. 153 fishes, dear Lord. In Jesus' name. I had this dream, whereas I was involved in this rescue mission. It was at night. It was a snowstorm, and I got to operate several vehicles climbing up this mountain. There were people that needed to be saved that were up on this mountain, but I was using like tracked vehicles, those type that it was amazing. I don't know. It was just interesting that, and here I am. I'm in a situation where we will be okay in Jesus' name. It would be nice if we do have a power outage, if we could save our stuff in the refrigerator and freezer from going bad. And me not being able to hardly walk, it makes it much more challenging. You see, the weather's cold enough that we could wheel out our stuff, our refrigerator and freezer's in the basement, but we could carry our stuff out. Even now, we'd be able to carry our stuff out, and if we had containers, put them in the containers outside, because it's cold enough outside to keep the stuff frozen. So I think we can do that. We have clear containers that we can put outside and transfer our stuff, because our stuff will thaw in the freezer, or the freezer in the freezer in the house. They'll thaw, but if it's cold enough that we can put our stuff outside, that will save it. Maybe. That's crazy, isn't it? You see, we can even use the snow, to pack the containers. So I'm thinking that's what the hell we will do if we have to. The power would go out. We'll use these clear containers we have to put our frozen foods in and pack it with the snow. It's cold enough out that they'll keep. And if the power outage would last for days. But that's what I think we'll do. Interesting, huh? Yeah, here's the forecast for the snow. I want you to
fold. Now back over in the southern plains, we're expecting a major... An extremely dangerous winter storm is about to slam the United States, and it just got worse. A massive winter storm is less than 48 hours away from impacting the southern United States, which will lead to days of heavy snow and crippling ice. This winter storm is shaping up to be the most severe winter storm since 2021 in the southern United States, with a dangerous mix of heavy snow and significant freezing rain persisting for multiple days from Texas to the East Coast. However, over the last 24 hours, this storm has taken a dramatic turn. Model guidance has shifted noticeably farther north, which has major implications for where the worst ice accumulations and potentially days of power outages could occur, as well as what parts of the country may instead see historic snow. On top of that, some of the coldest weather that we've seen in years is on the way. Temperatures could drop to as low as 30 degrees below zero Friday and Saturday, with wind chills plunging to 60 degrees below zero. This brutal cold will eventually spread into the southern United States, prolonging impacts and worsening conditions as the storm unfolds. So in today's forecast, I'm going to break down exactly what you need to know about this historic winter storm that is about to hit the United States. Now, we have a lot to talk about in today's forecast, and I want to jump right into what we're expecting with this winter storm and what has changed over the last 24 hours. And I want to begin with our future radar. We're going to start out with Friday, late morning and early afternoon, as that is when the winter storm impacts will begin. So right around the late morning, we will start to see some freezing rain across the Texas Panhandle and western Oklahoma. This will be pretty minimal in general. It's going to be very light, but it's going to be enough to really glaze over the roads and make travel impacts really significant pretty early in the day. As we go into Friday afternoon, our cold rain will continue across most of Texas and southern Oklahoma. Notice how there's really no pinks down here. So if you're in DFW, if you're in Abilene, we are leaning towards it being a cold rain for most of Friday. I don't think there's going to be a whole lot of freezing rain down that direction, and that's really one of the biggest changes with our forecast is that all of our wintry precipitation to begin Friday is expected to be further to the north, and that includes even areas down the line towards the Ohio Valley and the southeast as we go into Saturday, and we'll talk more about that here in a moment. As we go later into Friday afternoon and right around rush hour, that is when freezing rain and sleet are going to intensify quickly near Oklahoma City, Tulsa, back into the Texas Panhandle just outside of Lubbock. Light to moderate snow will ramp up across parts of Kansas and even back over towards Colorado and even New Mexico. We have winter storm watches and warnings in effect, and that is another area that snow and freezing rain is on the table. Things are going to intensify very quickly during the late evening on Friday and into Saturday. That is when freezing rain will become moderate to heavy. That goes from Wichita Falls and Childress, Texas, back towards Little Rock, and we'll also have snow starting to ramp up across parts of the Central Plains, including Kansas, Nebraska, and also Tulsa. If you're over in Tulsa, we're going to be right on the freezing rain, sleet, and snow line right around 10 to 11 o'clock on Friday. Now, overnight Friday and early Saturday is when things are going to start to shift a bit further to the east, and this winter storm is going to grow in size very rapidly. To begin Saturday, I think the bulk of our freezing rain will be located near DFW, back towards Memphis, most of Arkansas, and also towards Tulsa. Sleet is also going to be on the table. It's a very thin corridor where that brighter orange color, kind of that pink color is, that goes from just north of Memphis back towards Tulsa, and then moderate to heavy snow will continue, including St. Louis and also Cape Girardeau. If you're over in Springfield, Joplin, you are expecting snowfall Saturday morning, and snow will begin to ramp up in western Kentucky as we go into Saturday during the late morning and early afternoon. Freezing rain is going to get a lot more widespread Saturday afternoon. We are talking about a large swath of freezing rain stretching from Nashville back towards Lubbock. At this point, I do believe Nashville is going to be at more risk of ice instead of snow. I think if you're in Nashville, you need to be preparing right now for an ice storm rather than just snow, because there will be some snow, I think, in Nashville, but I think predominantly during Saturday, it's almost all going to be freezing rain, which means significant ice accumulations on the table. By 2 to 3 o'clock, freezing rain will really start to ramp up back over towards Dallas, Fort Worth. Areas along the Red River back towards Lubbock will be dealing with moderate to heavy freezing rain. This is a region right here where I think our most significant ice storm is going to set up. That is over in eastern Arkansas, southwest Tennessee, and extreme northwestern Mississippi, and warnings in effect, and that is another area that snow and freezing rain is on the table. Things are going to intensify very quickly during the late evening on Friday and into Saturday. That is when freezing rain will become moderate to heavy. That goes from Wichita Falls and Childress, Texas, Texas back towards Little Rock, and we'll also have snow starting to ramp up across parts of the Central Plains, including Kansas, Nebraska, and also Tulsa. If you're over in Tulsa, we're going to be right on the freezing rain, sleet, and snow line right around 10 to 11 o'clock on Friday. Now, overnight Friday into early Saturday is when things are going to start to shift a bit further to the east, and this winter storm is going to grow in size very rapidly. To begin Saturday, I think the bulk of our freezing rain will be located near DFW, back towards Memphis, most of Arkansas, and also towards Tulsa. Sleet is also going to be on the table. It's a very thin corridor where that brighter orange color, kind of that pink color is, that goes from just north of Memphis back towards Tulsa, and then moderate to heavy snow will continue, including St. Louis and also Cape Girardeau. If you're over in Springfield, Joplin, you are expecting snowfall Saturday morning, and snow will begin to ramp up in western Kentucky as we go into Saturday during the late morning and early afternoon. Freezing rain is going to get a lot more widespread Saturday afternoon. We are talking about a large swath of freezing rain stretching from Nashville back towards Lubbock. At this point, I do believe Nashville is going to be at more risk of ice instead of snow. I think if you're in Nashville, you need to be preparing right now for an ice storm rather than just snow, because there will be some snow, I think, in Nashville, but I think predominantly during Saturday, it's almost all going to be freezing rain, which means significant ice accumulations on the table. By 2 to 3 o'clock, freezing rain will really start to ramp up back over towards Dallas, Fort Worth. Areas along the Red River back towards Lubbock will be dealing with moderate to heavy freezing rain. This is a region right here where I think our most significant ice storm is going to set up. That is over in eastern Arkansas, southwest Tennessee, and extreme northwestern Mississippi. This corridor is where I think the most significant ice is going to happen. We could actually have some isolated locations over an inch of ice accumulation, which is, in all honesty, catastrophic. So this is definitely a very dangerous situation that will likely evolve there on Saturday. And then during the overnight hours Saturday into Sunday morning, notice how much heavy freezing rain we are going to have. We will have heavy freezing rain in those purples that is going to stretch across Dallas, Fort Worth, Lubbock, back towards Memphis, and then over in Nashville, still a little bit of freezing rain is on the table, and then back over in the Carolinas and also even in northern Georgia, freezing rain will continue overnight Saturday into early Sunday just outside of Atlanta, and this is also where a cold air damming event's going to happen. So I do think significant ice accumulation is on the table for North Carolina, upstate South Carolina, southern Virginia near Richmond. If you're in Charlotte, North Carolina, you definitely have to be staying weather aware as well. Freezing rain also across Kentucky and southeast Missouri, and then snow all on the northern side of this. I mean, we are going to have snow from New Mexico and Oklahoma City all the way into Maryland, Washington, D.C., and even back towards Philadelphia. It is going to be an absolutely crazy winter storm by Saturday night. And then Sunday morning, we have freezing rain still going across most areas in the mid-Mississippi River Valley, even across parts of Little Rock, back towards Memphis, and just outside of Nashville. And then that freezing rain will continue as well in the mid-Atlantic. But again, notice these darker purple colors. That is where significant ice is going to be on the table, and this is what's going to make this winter storm so incredibly dangerous. The amount of freezing rain that's going to fall over the next few days is just going to be unbelievable. I mean, we are talking about the possibility of power lines easily snapping and just being weighed down by all of the ice accumulation. So power outages in some of these areas could last days, if not even weeks in some locations, where we do end up seeing some significant infrastructure damage with ice accumulation over half of an inch being very well on the table. Now, as we go later into Sunday, we will have significant snow ramping up back over in the Northeast, including Washington, D.C., Philadelphia, New Jersey, Long Island. All of you are likely going to see a major winter storm. We're talking 10 to 15 inches of snow in some of these areas. Light to moderate snow will continue as far south and west as the North Texas region, including the Dallas-Fort Worth area, St. Louis, and then just south of Kansas City. If you're over in Little Rock, I do think it's going to be mostly freezing rain throughout this event. However, I do expect a transition to at least some snow on the backside of the storm on Sunday. So it's not all bad news. It's honestly mostly bad news for Little Rock and Nashville at this point. However, there's at least a little bit of good news that we might see a little bit of snowfall on top of all the ice. Now, if you're back over in the Alabama area, if you're in Georgia, this has been a big wild card, and models are continuing to show a large warm sector in this area, which means we might not end up seeing a whole lot of ice, if any, back over in the Atlanta area and even back over in Huntsville. It's still very 50-50, though. If I were in your shoes right now, if I'm in Atlanta or Huntsville, I would be preparing for this winter storm still. I would still have everything ready to go and also buy groceries just in case, because in the case we do end up having an ice storm, again, it could shut down travel for multiple days, and it could also lead to some pretty big power outages. So just continue to take preparation seriously there. I would not be panicking by any means. Just be ready for the possibility of an ice storm. If we don't have an ice storm and we don't really have much ice in this area in general, a low pressure system is going to try to form on Sunday along the East Coast. That could actually bring isolated severe storms, including a risk of an isolated tornado, to areas like Alabama, Georgia, and the Florida Panhandle. So talk about a complete turn of the events here. We actually could see severe weather on Sunday. By Sunday night, we are going to have have a major winter storm across the Northeast and impacting Ohio, Indiana, Pennsylvania, and most of the Northeast, including southern New England as well. If we had a Patriots game over in Foxborough this weekend instead of Denver, it would be an absolutely crazy game. I mean, we're talking about snowfall rates upwards of 2 to 3 inches per hour. And on top of that, that snow is going to stack up to probably over a foot of snow by the time we go into Monday. And one important thing I do want to point out, there will be a risk of freezing rain across almost all of Virginia, North Carolina, Maryland, Delaware, and even New Jersey. It's going to likely be a pretty quick transition to freezing rain, but towards of a tenth to even a fifth of an inch of ice is on the table if you're in Washington, D.C. or New Jersey as we go into Sunday night. Monday, things start to clear out, and then by the middle and end of next week, we're hoping we don't have anything too crazy happen, but Arctic air is going to continue to spill out of Canada even by the middle and end of next week. And this is very long-term, but even the European model and the GFS model are hinting at another winter weather event across the southern plains and the southeast by next weekend. I know this is very far out, but I'm definitely not ruling out another winter storm after this one with all of this very cold air that is going to continue to sag across the southern United States. We are beginning to narrow down where the most significant snow is going to fall out of this winter storm. If you're anywhere in the dark red, that is where we're at least expecting an inch of snowfall. That is an over 90% chance of seeing at least 1 inch of snow. Anywhere further south towards Dallas, Fort Worth, southern Arkansas, and even towards Nashville, the probabilities are rapidly dropping. We're down to around a 40 to 50% chance for a lot of those areas. I truly do think at least Nashville will see a little bit of snow. Same thing with Dallas, Fort Worth, and Little Rock. I just don't think it's going to be nearly as much as a lot of you were hoping for because this winter storm has really lifted the north over the last 24 hours. And then this right here is the probabilities of seeing greater than 12 inches of snow. So that is over 1 foot of snow. And back over in northwestern Arkansas and eastern Oklahoma, the probabilities are over 50% for a lot of those areas. That includes Fayetteville, back over towards Fort Smith, and even across Kentucky, just south of Cincinnati, we are sitting at about a 50 to 60% chance. Very high odds back over in the Appalachian Mountains near West Virginia, just east of Morgantown, into Virginia, Maryland, very, very high odds. So again, a lot of snow is coming. I honestly think almost this entire corridor will probably pick up around 10 to 15 inches of snow. If not, we could definitely see some locations over that. I mean, I wouldn't rule out an 18 to 22 inch reading in a few locations. So this is going to be one of those winter storms that you're probably never going to forget. Now, in terms of total snowfall accumulation, we are expecting a widespread swath of at least 10 to 15 inches of snow from Fort Smith back into northern Kentucky. Areas like Cincinnati, Evansville, and Louisville will likely all pick up around 10 to 12 inches of snow. And if you're back over in Kansas City, we're probably looking at 3 to 6. St. Louis probably right around 5 to 7. Oklahoma City will likely also be right around the 5 to 9 range. I would at least expect 5 inches in that area. Over in North Texas, this is a pretty big question mark. I think generally speaking, we're not going to see that much snow. Things could change, but for right now, it looks like it's mostly going to be an ice storm there. And then Nashville and also Little Rock, we're not looking at a whole lot of snow there, I think. It should mostly just be ice accumulation in those areas. And then back over in the Ohio Valley in the Northeast, we are watching for a very significant winter storm up this direction with most likely over 4 inches of snow for almost all of Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, Pennsylvania, New York, all the way through the Northeast. Our most significant snow will be right in this area here. I think Pennsylvania, West Virginia, Northern Virginia, and Southern Ohio, those spots will likely have a widespread 10 to 15 inches of snow. Some localized areas, especially in the Appalachian Mountains, could easily be over 18 inches of snow when this is all said and done. And I'm also not going to rule out somewhere in this corridor here being somewhere near 20 to 24 inches of snow. It's not out of the question. I think it's definitely something that could happen with how slowly this winter storm is going to be moving. It's just hard to pinpoint exactly where that sort of number would actually fold. Now, back over in the southern plains, we're expecting a major ice storm here. Back over in Dallas, Fort Worth, I'm at least expecting a quarter to a half an inch of ice accumulation. If you're in central southern Arkansas, even right along the Mississippi River near Tennessee and northern Mississippi, this is an area that over 2 inches of freezing rain will fall. That doesn't mean 2 inches of ice, but we could easily see a lot of locations here well over a half an inch of ice. Probably many locations like Memphis and even back over just south of Little Rock, probably getting close to 1 inch of ice accumulation, which would cause catastrophic problems. So I'm definitely very concerned for that area. Nashville and much of Kentucky will pick up on some ice accumulation. And then if you're back over down near Houston, this is still a bit of a question mark. We could have a glazing of ice, maybe up to a tenth of an inch of ice in some locations. There are winter storm watches that are in effect that far down to the south right now. And then across the mid-Atlantic, we are expecting a very significant ice storm if you are in Virginia and North Carolina, specifically Charlotte, Richmond, those areas. We're expecting a lot of ice, likely over a quarter of an inch, but possibly even over half an inch of ice, which will mostly happen on Sunday. So again, definitely make sure that you're getting ready for a significant ice storm here. Now is the time to prepare again if you're anywhere in the mid-Atlantic or the southern plains. This is really the last day until we start to see those impacts grow. If you're in the mid-Atlantic, you do have Friday as well, but I definitely would not be taking your chances on waiting last second to get those essentials and get ready ready for this very dangerous winter storm. And before we go further into the forecast, I just want to mention that we will likely have another video later today covering this winter storm, and perhaps even a live stream tonight going more in detail about the winter storm and answering your questions. So make sure you're subscribed to the channel and click the bell icon so you're notified with the latest updates. I do want to briefly touch on the temperatures. We are going to see extreme cold with this winter storm as well. As we go into Friday morning, temperatures will be as low as 30 degrees below zero in the northern plains and the Midwest. Those are, again, those are temperatures, not wind chills. And then as we go into Saturday and Sunday, these temperatures will sink a lot further down to the south. We will have very, very cold conditions across Dallas, Fort Worth, Little Rock, back over towards Memphis, and even across Indiana. Temperatures as low as the single digits. Monday morning will likely be the most brutal morning. A widespread hard freeze is in the forecast across Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi, and Alabama. Temperatures even down near Mobile will be under 30 degrees. It is going to get crazy. Oklahoma City could be negative 11 Monday morning. That is just how insane this weather pattern is going to be. And I am concerned that this is going to last all the way into the end of next week. This could be a very cold stretch of weather across the country. This might be one of the worst winter patterns that we've seen in a long time for many areas, especially if you're back over in the Midwest. And this could end up triggering another winter storm by the end of the month. As always, thank you all so much for watching today's forecast. If you are new to the channel, make sure to subscribe down below. We'll have another video later today and then perhaps a live stream tonight, so click the bell icon so you're notified and subscribe if you're new to the channel. By the way, if you notice my voice was quieter, I am trying to preserve my voice. We are likely going to have a marathon of streaming over the next few days, with Friday, Saturday, and Sunday likely being very long days of winter storm coverage. And there is a legit possibility that we could be live over 50 hours just over the next 5 days. So make sure that you're subscribed to the channel, stay tuned, and we will see you in the next video.
It's interesting that it's going to be so cold, and I think that's a real.
These eyes blink.
These eyes.
That's a real plus. That's something good, because, you know, if you have some containers like those plastic containers that you could take your, you know, food out of your freezer and your refrigerator, put it into those containers, and then put them outside where, you know, they're safe, you know, somewhere outside your, if you have that type of situation, because it's going to be cold. So, and you could even put them in plastic bags, you know, like a garbage bags, you know, and then put shovel snow inside of the garbage bags, just to, I mean, that's one thing. I'm, you know, in Jesus' name, hallelujah. I'm grateful. Jesus' name, Yeshua, his birth name, Yeshua of Nazareth, risen, exalted, glorified, that I was given that inspiration, you know, that because, you know, that all of your, if we have a blackout, your house, you know, will probably be warm enough that your food will thaw, and your food, well, you know, it could go bad. I don't know, but something to think about in the summertime too, you know, to have some containers that you could get to, you know, a convenience store and buy ice and put everything on ice. If you get to it, if you do it quick enough, you might be able to save your food, you know. Yeah, anyway.